Hi guys, and welcome back to another Chris Kumekucha video. But this video is a tad bit different. Here today we have my siblings Eva and David, and of course me, Bianca, and also the host of the channel, the one and only Chris Kumekucha. Give him a round of applause.
Seriously, Bianca. Anyway, karibu sana.
I told you guys, this government doesn't follow court orders. Did you expect Wetangula to follow court orders? You people are dreaming. Now that kind of discussion is taking place right across Kenya as a result of what happened in Parliament yesterday. Because there was excitement, a lot of excitement initially, when Azimio took their place as the majority party after the court ruling. But then, in a very well choreographed script, Wetangula appeared to be taking the views of everybody on the floor of the house, and especially Azimio people. And he gave us the impression that Azimio were in control. I believe that was deliberate. And then he came back the next day, sounding like a very different person. He appears to have cancelled everything. And he said, based on a very quick reply from the political party's registrar, which he used as evidence, he said, according to the numbers, Kenya Kwanza is still the majority party. And therefore this thing of Junet Mohammed and Azimio being the majority party, at Junet Mohammed is majority leader, sahau. That is what his ruling said. And the hearts of many Kenyans fell. However, I have some news today for you. I have some news for you. For those who thought this thing is over, you are mistaken. In fact, this thing has not even started. Mambo bado, tena bado sana. Okay? And on my show today, we'll go into details to prove why mambo bado, tena bado sana. Number one, William Samoei Ruto and Kenya Kwanza have made a very huge, fatal mistake. Number two, Moses Wetangula is in very serious trouble, much more serious trouble than he can imagine. Okay? Now, how has President William Samoei Ruto made a mistake? What is the mistake here? Okay? What is the mistake in ignoring the court order? Frustrating the court order. Now, apart from the obvious, ignoring a court order, frustrating a court order, there is a huge political mistake here. And the mistake is this. You know, in politics, whatever you do will have an effect. There's cause and effect. And many times, there is a chain reaction. So that at the end of the day, in retrospect, if you stand back, you realize, had I made this initial decision, this thing would have ended very differently. Okay? Let me make it clearer with an example from history. The advisors of Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, the second president of Kenya, were surrounding Moi at one point, I'm sure, when Moi had a very serious problem. Foreign countries, the West mainly, had poured money into Kenya to resist the Kenyan government. And they were very well organized. The opposition in Kenya was very vibrant. Cries of Moi must go had already started. And so the agenda in the room was very simple. What do we do to reverse this situation? And then the answer came clear and simple. Mr. President, these people want multi-party. So you know what you're going to do? We're going to give them multi-party. And then I'm sure there were mamas around the table. Aye! How? That is crazy. We can't have multi-party coming back. And then I can imagine the late Moi saying, Ngoja, waja onge. And the person continues. We can give them multi-party and that will deflate their balloon. That will stop their momentum dead on its tracks. And then meanwhile, we will always be one step, two steps ahead, and we will control the situation. We will control the multi-party. Because actually, if truth be told, we already have multi-party in Kenya. It's only that it's not official. Because we have the government on one side, and we have the opposition. So all we are going to do is cool down temperatures. Now, of course, most of us know history. We know what happened. Moi shocked the country when he stood up one day and declared that Kenya is going to return to multi-party democracy. And very interesting for those of us who were around at that time, barely a week before, he had sworn before Kenyans, Kenya will never be a multi-party country. Nimesema. Barely a week before that. Now in retrospect, there is something very clear we can see here. Had Moi not taken that decision of reintroducing multi-party politics back into Kenya, he would not have lasted in power much longer than that time, which was the year 1991. But because of this smart one decision, Moi bought for himself 11 more years in power. Predictably, when multi-party was reintroduced into the country, the fight against Moi slowed down dramatically. There was so much excitement amongst politicians to create their own brand new political parties. There was so much joy in the country. Aye, at least we've gone back to multi-party politics. Now we are sure Moi is going home, etc., etc. And so, a simple decision diffused, one decision diffused the whole political situation. Now fast forward to the present. In my opinion, Kenya Kwanza are in exactly the same position Moi was in the year 1991. In fact, they're in a worse position than Moi was. And had they handled it, had they taken something from Moi's handbook, Moi's political handbook, this whole thing would have gone very differently from how it is going to unfold from now going forward. Had Kenya Kwanza respected the court order, followed it to the letter, in my opinion, it would have diffused a lot of things. Even in Parliament, there would have been the excitement amongst politicians, members of Parliament. There would have been a lot of excitement. I believe we saw this excitement on the first day of sitting. Yeah, Junet Mohammed sitting on the majority leader's seat and saying, this seat is very warm. I don't think I'm leaving this seat anytime soon. And members of Parliament laughing in excitement. And then, of course, they would have found a way to control things. Damage control strategies. Because guess what? There is something which is much more important in Parliament than being the majority party or being the minority party. I don't know why it is lost on these guys. And it's really very simple. What matters in Parliament are numbers. Numbers and nothing else. If there are enough numbers to impeach Wetangula, he'll be impeached. If there are enough numbers to impeach President William Samoei Ruto, he'll be impeached. It's that simple. Now, by following the route they have taken, by following that route, they have really messed up. It's a very serious mistake. Because what's going to happen? Kenya Kwanza cannot afford any controversy. They cannot afford to trigger anything in Parliament right now. Why? Because the situation in Parliament right now, as far as allegiance and which MP supports which side, that situation is very, very fluid. I think we're all aware of this. There are too many members of Parliament currently switching sides. I don't think that is breaking news. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has managed to snatch away so many legislators from Ruto, legislators who hail from the Mount Kenya region. He has managed to snatch away so many of them who are now on his side. Meaning if there's a vote in Parliament tomorrow, they'll vote how Rigiji and his camp wants them to vote. Isn't that a fact? We also have a situation where many members of Parliament are under intense pressure from the electorate. Their voters are watching them closely. And therefore many of these very sharp politicians have realized that unless they do something before it is too late, they are going home. Now do you think, just put yourself in their shoes, do you think if you're a politician and you knew all about this, do you think you would do nothing? Do you think you would sit back, enjoy the rest of your time in Parliament, and accept that in the next election you will be defeated? Of course not. You would scheme. You would be thinking right now very hard how you're going to turn the tide and ensure that in the next election you're elected. So there's that factor, which of course is to a great disadvantage to Kenya Kwanza and President Ruto. Bottom line, the very deadly situation right now in Parliament for Ruto and his allies is that politicians have smelt blood. What that means is that they have seen the opportunity, for them to squeeze in and become heroes. They've seen the opportunity for them to turn things in their favor so that they remain politically relevant. That is a very volatile house, a very volatile National Assembly for any president to handle. And so in that kind of situation, you don't want to trigger anything. And of course by ignoring a court order, you're triggering something, as we saw very clearly. Azimio have come out very strongly, and they have even threatened further action. They've already withdrawn themselves from Parliament's Business Committee. Very important. That's what organizes the business of Parliament. They've withdrawn themselves. And they're saying that they're going to go even further and take court action. So clearly, this very misguided, very wrong decision by Ruto and his cronies has already started showing its results. And its results, to be honest with you, do not look good for Kenya Kwanza. They don't. Very wrong decision, very wrong timing. Because in politics, you must measure the temperatures very carefully before you take your decision. That is critical in politics. But it seems the way Kenya Kwanza runs their things, it seems there was panic in State House. Aye, how can we have the opposition as the majority? That will finish us. People are just talking without thinking. No, it can't happen like that. Stop it immediately. Can you get Wetangula on the phone? Yes, Bwana Wetangula. Do 1, 2, 3. Okay? Stop this thing. Court order kitu gani? Something like that. And now you can see the recklessness of that decision. And if you don't believe me, just stand back. Give this thing a few days, give it a few weeks, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. And secondly, I pity Moses Wetangula. You know, this man is a senior lawyer, senior counsel. And you know, lawyers are supposed to be thinkers. How is it that Wetangula has not seen that he's being led into a trap? How is it that somebody has confused, convinced, seduced Moses Wetangula into believing that he is safe and that the action he took was safe for him even in the long term? How did that happen? I mean, most Kenyans are seeing this. In fact, I saw a very hilarious post yesterday. It is very crude, granted, but it illustrates perfectly the situation and the environment where Wetangula finds himself in today. The person said in that post, if you dream that you've gone to the washroom closet, the WC, please don't do what people normally do in a WC. Don't! Hey! And it is true. Oh, it is so true. You know, it is interesting, not too long ago, the way years fly. I remember telling my last born, when you have a dream, and in the dream, you want to susu, don't wake up breaks. Before you do anything, ask yourself, is this a dream? And then don't do anything. I remember giving that advice not too long ago. Anyway, let us look at it this way. Let us put it this way. If I was Kenya Kwanza right now, the easiest, most efficient way out of this mess is to look for a scapegoat. Yeah, I know it is very brutal, it is very ruthless, but hey, this is politics. And I believe we all know and understand the way Kenya Kwanza and Ruto do their things. And so the most efficient way to get out of this hole is to get a scapegoat. Moses Wetangula. Wash your hands, pretend that this whole mess is Moses Wetangula. He's the one who caused it, blah, 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 etc., etc. And Kenya Kwanza are clean, safi kama pamba. They didn't do anything. They didn't even talk to him, etc., etc. And you know what will happen next? People will be very excited that Wetangula is going. And of course that will divert attention from where the real problem is. You know, I believe this is the most plausible scenario. This is the most likely thing that is going to happen next. Why didn't Wetangula see it? In politics, the tissue paper syndrome is very common. Use and dump, and get the next guy to use, who you will later dump. That's how politics goes. Personally, I wouldn't do my politics like that, because the danger here is that you're creating too many enemies, which is not a good idea in politics. Anyway, kunaendanga hivyo in Kenya Kwanza's camp. What Bwana Wetangula should have done, he should have stepped back and said to himself, okay, why don't I do some damage control to save myself? He would have obeyed the court order to the letter and done everything in his power to try and make good his mistakes of the past. He should have worked very hard to give the impression that Bwana Wetangula is a good man. It's only that there was too much pressure from State House. And this pressure from State House is what caused the mistakes of the past. He should have given the public that impression, through his actions, okay, and through his words, by implication. And that way, he would have saved himself and secured his political future. But where he has put himself now, because we all know where the country is right now, that thing of ignoring a court order, where Kenya is now, it will not go just like that. It will not go unpunished. That one you can be sure. Okay? And even if not in Parliament, it will happen in the streets in protests. Okay? And remember, the whole world is watching. Oh yes, it is. In fact, if you look at this in another way, it is also exposure. Ruto and his regime are being exposed. What they did such a long time ago politically, in 2022, what they did which was very illegal, poaching people from other parties, immediately after general election, convincing people to cross the floor, immediately after general election, what Ruto and company did was not legal. And what has happened, or what is happening now, is that this is being highlighted to Kenyans and even to the world. That cannot be good for this regime. The take home here is that what we should expect going forward in the next few days and weeks is that there are a lot of very dramatic things that are going to happen. Kwanza in Parliament, and even outside Parliament, because there's hue and cry all over the place. How can you people just trash a court order like it is a piece of paper, like it is an opinion to be interpreted, to be rejected, to be taken, and you say, okay, this one will take, this one will not. This part of the court order is okay, this part of the court order, we don't want. You can't do that. How can you do that? So we should expect a lot of things to unfold in rapid succession. Okay? So if you have popcorn somewhere, toa hiyo gunia popcorn. There are going to be a lot of popcorn moments going forward. And you can take that as a prediction from Kumekucha Chris. Okay, very quickly before I go, I need to remind you about my very latest special report. Highly sensitive. And strictly for the next 48 hours only. It will be available for only Kenya shillings 2,999. And therefore I suggest that you rush very quickly so that you avoid being time barred, you avoid being disappointed. Now, this special report has information that will help you understand just how serious this latest blunder by Kenya Kwanza is. This latest blunder of ignoring a court order. This latest blunder of panicking. How can Azimio be the majority party in Parliament? The executive can't survive that way. Of course, that is a fallacy. It's not true. It happens in democracies all over the world. Presidents survive with a hostile parliament. It's nothing new. In fact, some presidents are very successful, governing with a hostile parliament. It is just a matter of making deals, the way it's done in politics. Because sooner or later, these parliamentarians will need something from the executive. And therefore, you sit down and you make a deal. Above board, of course. Not bribes or exchanging of money. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Anyway, information in this very latest special report of mine will show you very clearly why this latest move by Kenya Kwanza and by Moses Wetangula is a very, very fatal mistake. You'll also learn in this special report what is happening deep in the inner circle, including why people fear to approach Ruto these days. I'm telling you, things are just crumbling in the inner circles. Okay? And this special report exposes all that. You can see details on your screens right now. Please go for it if you're in a position to. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.